Okay, here we go. Starting on the next segment. In a zoo with 500 animals, 35% are mammals. Express which one can be used to calculate the total number of mammals. So we were talking before about the fact that 35% is 35 over 100. Okay, which can also be written as 35 divided by 100, which is 0.35 or 0.35. Take either one of those, multiply that by 15. That's how many we could get for a mammal. So let's see if any of those have that. Well, that's not 35 over 100, that's 0.35 over 100. Here's 0.35 times 500. Would that one possibly work? Yep. This one here, 35 over 500. Nope. 35 over 10. No. So in this situation, the answer would be that one there, 0.35 times 500. Okay, because 0.35 is the same thing as 35 over 100. Select the expression that can be used to calculate 32% of 120. Well, 32% again could be 32 over 100, or it could be 0.32. So whichever one of those times the 120. So let's see, 32 over 10. Nope, that's not going to work. 0.32 looks pretty promising. That's one of the two options that we have. 0.32 over 100, definitely not. Okay, and then 0.32 over 10. Nope. Okay, so it's going to have to be that one there. Okay, 0.32 times 120. It will give you your calculation that you're looking for. Select the expression that can be used to calculate 32% of 120. Okay, once again, 32% is either going to have to be 32 over 100 or 0.32 or 0.32. Okay, so 0.32 over 10, nope, no good again. 32 over 10 times 120, nope. 0.32 over 100, nope. 32 over 100, yes, that's this one here. So that one would be the correct one for this particular problem. All right, so now we choose the number of liters equal to 800 milliliters. Well, we know the conversion. I put it right there for you. 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters. Well, we need to get to 800 milliliters. Okay, so we're going to have to somehow get to 800 milliliters. All right, so I guess I could have put down near the bottom. But regardless, we can just kind of make our ratios anywhere along here. All right, so if we do 1/2 of 1,000, okay, that would give us, let's do a different color just so we can see. Half of 1,000 is 500 milliliters. Well, that doesn't get us really close, but half of a liter obviously is, or 1 liter, half of 1 liter would be just a half a liter, so 0.5 liters. So that's not going to get us there yet. So what if we got this down to 100? If we divided 5 into 500, we end up with 100 milliliters. And we divide 5 into 0.5, we actually end up with 0.1 liters. All right, so that's not too hard to do because if we get from this point, we go from 100 up to 800, we have to multiply by 8. So we'd have to multiply this times 8. So if we do that times 8, obviously that 1 will become an 8. So it's 0.8 liters. Okay, so our answer for this one would be 0.8. Is that any of them over here? Yeah, right there. 0.8 liters would be the same as 100 milliliters. Okay, so that would be our answer. Actually, I misspoke, but zero point 0.8 liters would be the same as 800 milliliters. I think I said 100 milliliters. Pick the number of meters in 4.9 kilometers or kilometers. So 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. So let's go ahead and set up the chart. Okay, so we have the chart here. We have 1 kilometer and 1,000 meters. We want to get to 4.9 kilometers. Well, anytime we're dealing with 1, that's not too hard to do. So 1 times what will give you 4.9? Well, 0.9. So if you take 4.9 times 1,000, that's not too hard either. All we have to do is move the decimal over 3 places. And if we end up with that, or do that, we end up with 4,900 meters. Okay, so that was a quick one. So 4,900 meters, is that one of the answers over here? There it is. That's our answer. Pick the number of quarts in 3.5 gallons. All right, 1 gallon is 4 quarts. Well, that shouldn't be too hard. Let's figure it out. Okay, so it says if 1 gallon is 4 quarts, we have 3.5 gallons. So let's get from 1 gallon to 3.5, or 3.5, right? We already know that a half is always 0.5. Well, how do we get from 1 to 3.5? Multiply by 3.5. So you're going to do the same thing over here. 4 times 3.5. All right. So let's see. So 4 times 3 is 12. And then 4 times a half, well, 4 halves is 2 more, so it's 12 plus 2. So obviously our answer is 14 quarts. Okay, so it says 1 gallon equals 4 quarts. If you have 3.5 gallons, you have 14 quarts. Is that one of our options over here? It is. So there's our answer for that one. Pick the number of inches in 5.25 yards. So 1 yard is equal to 3 feet, and each foot is 12 inches. So if we want to convert right off the bat, we can do that. So 1 yard is 3 feet. Each foot is 12 inches. So 12 times 3 is 36. So we can come to the conclusion that 1 yard is the same as how many inches? 1 yard equals, well, 12 times 3 is 36 inches. All right, so that's good. So we're converting from yards to inches. So we already have that conversion ready to go. So if 1 yard is 36 inches, okay, what you want to do is get to 5.25 yards. So 5.25, or 5 1/4, either one. Well, what do you have to do to get from 1 to 5.25? Multiply by 5.25. Okay, ones are awesome because you just pick the same number. All right, so if you do that and you take 36 inches times 5.25, you're going to end up with 189 inches. Okay, so 5.25 yards is the same as 189 inches. Let's go over here and find that answer. That's all you have to do for that one. Pick the number of grams equal to 32.8 kilograms. All right, well, 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams, so this should be a pretty easy conversion. Once again, we're just dealing with the number 1, so let's set it up. Well, here we go again. So we're going to get from 1 kilogram to 32.85 kilograms. Okay, well, what would you multiply times 1 to get 32.85? Well, obviously, you'd multiply 32.85. So you're going to take 1,000 times 32.85. Okay, so once again, we're talking about using base 10 numbers here. So we're just going to count the zeros, 1, 2, 3. We're just going to move the decimal over 3 places, which means we're going to end up with 32,850 grams. If I can fit it on there, there we go. 32,850 grams. Is that one of our options over here? Yeah, right there. So once again, pretty easy when you got a unit rate, okay, to kind of get to whatever you want to get to. Next, we are going to pick the number of minutes equal to 5/6 of an hour. So most of an hour. Okay, there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. That's important to know. So let's go ahead and set this up and figure it out. Right, here we go. We know that 1 hour is 60 minutes. So we have 5. We need to get 5 over 6, or I did 5 divided by 6. Got 0.8333333 forever. Actually, it's a repeating decimal. So we need to get from 1 hour to that. So what are we going to do? Well, 1 times 5/6, or 1 times 0.83333. So we're going to take 60 times 5 over 6. Okay, which basically I did all the work down there on the bottom of the screen. So we have 60 over 1, because that's what you would do, times 5 over 6. You can end up with 60 times 5, which is 300. 1 times 6, which is 6. And 6 goes into 350 times. The other thing you could have done before you got to these big numbers is you could have looked at this and cross-reduced and said, well, 6 goes into 60 10 times. 6 goes into 6 one time, and you would have ended up with 10 times 5, which is 50. 1 times 1, which is 1. 50 over 1 would have given you 50 as well. So sometimes we talk about cross-reducing in class, so that could have been a situation where you saved us some time on that one. Same thing. So we know that it is 50 minutes is the correct answer on this one. So let's go ahead and find it over here. And there we mark it. So that's all for that one. All right, now we pick the number of cups equal to 2 1/8 gallons. Okay, so we do have 1 gallon equals 16 cups, or 16 cups is equal to 1 gallon. All right, so if we want to get to 2 1/8 gallons, we just have to put that in there. Let's do a different color. 2 1/8. Obviously, actually, another thing that 2 1/8 is actually 2.125. Okay, if you do 1 divided by 8, you get 1.125. So it's the same thing. So to get from 1 to 2 1/8 or 2.125, you multiply by, well, 2 1/8 or 2.125. So if you take 16 cups and you multiply that by 2.125, you are going to end up with 34 cups. Okay, so 34 cups would be the answer to that one, and that is right here. All right, so Aaron needs 24 inches of copper wire for an experiment. So we're talking about inches. The wire is sold in centimeters, so we're going to have to convert it. So it's given that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. How many centimeters of wire does Aaron need? Rounded to the nearest centimeter. Okay, so we have 1 inch and we need to get to 24 inches. Well, obviously, to get from 1 to 24, you're going to multiply by 24. So times 24. And then we're going to do the same to the other side. So if you take 2.54 times 24, you're going to end up with basically 60.96, but it says rounded to the nearest centimeter. So if you have 60.96, well, if you're going to round to the nearest centimeter, you're going to look at this 0 and say, well, the next number after that is a 9. So the rule is if it's 5 or above, you give this the next highest number. So the answer here would be 61 centimeters. Okay, so let's look over here and see if that's one of the options. Right there, 61 centimeters is our answer to that one. All right, so an unopened package of twine contains 4 yards. Given that 1 meter equals 1.09 yards, how many meters of twine are in the package rounded to the nearest tenth? All right, so we have to get to 4 yards, right? So let's put a 4 right here. Well, I don't think there's going to be any real good answer as far as like an even number for this one. So basically the easiest way to do this is do 4 divided by 1.09, okay, because that's what it is to find that. And then ends up being, it's basically 3.669, so 3.7. 3.7 is what you're going to multiply by to get from 1.09 to 4. Well, if you're going to multiply this times 3.7, what do you have to do with this time? This side times 3.7, which would give you 3.7 meters. Well, it actually wasn't as hard as we thought. Okay, so once we divided 4 divided by 109 to get how much it is in this relationship, we can find out the answer, and the answer is 3.7. So that's our answer for that one.